Maseches Megillah, Perek Aleph, Mishna Tes. This Mishnah teaches of the only difference between different types of kohanim. Ein bin kohen mishuach b'shemen hamishcha lemurbe b'godim el par haba al kol mitzvahs. There's no difference between a kohen gadol who became a kohen gadol through the anointment with the shemen hamishcha and a kohen gadol who became a kohen gadol through wearing the 8 garments of the kohen gadol, except that the kohen gadol who is mishuach b'shemen hamishcha has to bring a special carbon if he rules that an avera that's chayav kares is mutter, and based on his ruling he does that avera. If he makes that mistake, he has to bring a special carbon, which is basically a par, a bull. That number 1, the blood is sprinkled on the Perek and on the inner Mizbeach. And number 2, it's entirely burnt outside of Yerushalayim, as opposed to a Kohen Gadol that was Merubah Begadim, that he has to bring a regular chatos like any other person, which would be a female goat or lamb and not a bull. And also the blood would be sprinkled on the outer Mizbeach, and the carbon wouldn't be entirely burned. However, for everything else, they're exactly the same. Now, the Kohanim Gedolim would become a Kohen Gadol through the Shemen HaMishcha up to the days of Yeshayahu, who was a king starting around 50 years before the destruction of the first Beis HaMikdash. And Yeshayahu at a certain point was Gainez, the Aron, and other items, including this Shemen HaMishcha, and from that point on, the Kohanim Gedolim would become Kohanim Gedolim through wearing the 8 garments of the Kohen Gadol. The Mishnah continues, Ein ben kohen mishamish l'kohen sha'avar el lepar yom kippurim v'asira se'ifa. There's no difference between a kohen gadol who is actively a kohen gadol and a kohen gadol who is no longer a kohen gadol, except that the kohen gadol who is actively a kohen gadol will bring the special carbon of the kohen gadol on Yom Kippur and the daily chavitin. However, regarding everything else, like only being allowed to marry a basula and that they're allowed to do avodah when they are in, for that they're the same.